Now, accents. What is an accent? Essentially, when we do an accent, it's a note that we emphasize slightly more. So, when it comes to a group of 4, we can actually choose to emphasize one note slightly more than the others when it comes to delivery, when it comes to playing them. And that's really cool because, first of all, if you get used to doing multiple accents, so if you have absolute control, switching between controlling the one out of the 4 notes and the second and then the fourth, you can create more colors and more effects, percussive effects when it comes to playing alternate picking. So you can be more interesting in your delivery, basically. So you can do a lot of percussive stuff like this. So basically you can be more spicy, more colorful, do various accents, and you can feel quite confident in doing so. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to showcase a couple of ways where you can practice accents. So the first one is, and most sort of basic, is to accent the first note of the group. So every time we hear the metronome, we count 1 till 4. 1 is always the one we're going to accent slightly more. Yeah? So let's pretend I'm going to be a talking metronome for a second. So if the scale is 1, 2, 3, 4, the accent will be 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So right? Then if we wanted to accent the 2, it's going to be as follows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. The concept of limitation is essentially when you set a limit to yourself when it comes to playing over a track. That's actually quite important because, as you will find out later on, it prevents you from going to autopilot mode. So autopilot mode is when you just rely on the stuff you've learned and you just repeat them over a track without necessarily listening to what's going on. You just rely on the fact that you've got 15 or 20 runs or licks that sound good and you just use them. So I do that sometimes. I'll go off on a track and I'll just be like, and those are all kind of stuff that I've worked on, but it's sort of, I just do it automatically. I'm not really thinking about it. And that's fine. I mean, you can't create stuff from scratch all the time. Usually good improvisation has about 70% of muscle memory and 30% sort of creation on the spot. But it's quite important to sort of work on concepts like limitation because, we learn how to create music with a small amount of information. And that sort of pushes the creative boundaries a lot because you have to find other ways to be creative and to be colorful. And that's really, really good. It also helps you to connect because it's easier to start connecting with the guitar and music, especially when you start out when dealing with simple melodies. It's really about connection, and limitation is great for that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set the following limitation to myself. So I'm going to be focused on that part of the C major scale, so open strings till 3rd fret, but I shall only play on the B string, and I'm only going to use B, C, and D. B, C, and D. And what I'm going to try to do over the track, which should be available to you guys as well, for you to practice, is I'm going to try and I'm going to spend a minute or two trying to create some music. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play over the track, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the process. How do you start? How do you start making a melody? Yeah. So let's have a jam. Let's jam.